Right, greetings everybody and welcome to another video today. The FF14 stuff, the content I think a lot of people have been waiting for. People who have been hanging around since the beginning of the game, people who have left the game and come back. I think we need a little bit of justice for some of these 14 characters. I almost said 16 and that's not correct. So yeah, the collaboration, I'll go into a little bit about that. Basically, everything is returning. Everything is getting upgraded. We have a couple new vision cards, and there's a chance to get the old vision cards. It's a pretty straightforward collaboration, but I did want to show this off. The shop, because I don't know if I'll get a real chance to do a... just a like 14 content video. There isn't that much that's new. You could probably go back and watch the old videos. I don't think that any of this will be particularly challenging for long-term players. But here, you know, just to show off, because it is related to Thancred, you can get 120 Thancred shards. They're not particularly cheap, but since this event is going on for a 30 days, the shop is at least available for 30 days. You have a good amount of time to farm up enough, and that's like 120 orbs, and then you have another 100 right here, so that's a good number of reincarnations if you are so inclined. If you are a big FF 14 person, then this is pretty cool. And there's other stuff in the shop which is pretty standardized, but everything is here. We also have the ticket system, which I've saved just for this video. So I already got my 10 tickets. We're just gonna pull them right here at the start and see what we get. There you go. That's it. That's what it looks like. That's 10 tickets right there. You can get a Thancred off of it, but I think the rates are probably pretty similar to what has previously been in these style events. There's still more stuff to come, so I'm not too terribly worried about it. Now, for the sake of this video, I have boosted my Thancred up to 140 almost immediately. Just snap decision, let's go kind of thing. And as for Thancred, I mean, I haven't done any reincarnations yet. I do have enough that I could do a bunch of reincarnations. But, for right now, he is at 140 in terms of his abilities. Well, okay, maybe I've been slacking a little bit. So let's just, I guess we're doing that now in this video just because. Oh, hurry up. I guess I have the important abilities maxed. Oh, I should really be careful about what I say. Get all of that done. Oh, embarrassing. It's almost like I don't use this character that often. And then we'll get into everything about him. And we'll probably even do a short test. I don't think that there's, like, for people who are expecting a miracle with this character, I'm not convinced, at least early on. Here he is in our regular testing party. And I do think that the stats are way better than what they used to be. Taking a look also at his resistances, pretty on the positive side once you put him into a decently formed party. And yeah, so let's break into what we got. First off, master ability. Now, the master ability, I'm just going to read the full version of it because it's actually just quite long now. So other than increase light attack for light allies and the light ally things, HP is now 20%, slash attack is up by 10, attack is up by 150, AoE resistance penetration is a permanent 30, undispellable, agility got a 10% boost, and accuracy got increased by 10. Dream ability is accuracy up by 25, debuff effect weakening by 25, and critical evasion of 15. All of that is really nice. I think it goes a long way. Support skill has been improved a considerable amount from what it used to be. It used to just be, missile resistance, and now we have missile resistance, defense penetration, slash attack resistance penetration, both of those by 40, single target resistance by 20, and reducing damage taken the larger the AoE attack by 15%. That's all really good. His other ability, which I actually don't have equipped right now, I have his HP and healing power up, which honestly, I mean, if we really wanted to, we could probably switch in this one. This one, a little bit more interesting, take that hit there, but we are getting, as soon as I find it on the screen, pierce resistance of 15%, not super important, at least at the moment, maybe in the future. Reaction block rate of 40, an increased chance of being targeted by 7, which is pretty good. He is, for all intents and purposes, tankier now than he used to be, which, yeah, you kind of would want him being attacked potentially as opposed to someone else. And given the resistances here, we don't have the dark, I believe we don't have the Dark Bahamut card. Oh, never mind. It's in a sub position, so not quite as good. But we can see resistance also for single target is 48. AoE is only 13. That could be improved. And that gets us into talking about his abilities, which have been, thankfully, fairly nicely improved. So Bolide 2, this ability reduces damage taken by 50% 4 times for himself, decreases AP consumption by 25. When a friendly unit is in range, you cast abilities to reduce the damage that is being taken for him. He has a bunch of those abilities now. Just taking a look, I mean, he can get an ability now where if he takes too much damage, below 50%, he gets a 40% HP heal. That might be a reason to run healing power up, because that should be affected, unless I'm mistaken on it, in which case, apologies. But magical damage taken is down by 30% in the aura field around him, as well as chain resistance up by 40. Attack is also increased for allies by 40, and critical evasion. That kind of paints the picture that he does want to be with other physical damaging based characters. I think that's totally possible. There's a mix here of both offensive and defensive capabilities that are kind of worked into everything that we are getting. Now, looking at this ability, our straightforward line, blasting zone, right? Dispel ignore fatal damage, decrease evasion rate by 30 if a target has agility up, and it's a 225 mod. Essentially been improved here, and I think that evasion down might be more relevant given some of the direction that the game has been going lately. All right, what else do we have? I mean, a bunch of other abilities have been improved from just absorbing part of the damage done 50%, and also getting, like, we have single target resistance penetration now on this too. Thancred is an interesting character because he does seem to support multiple different characters, and Light and Dark does have a lot of good real estate essentially with the characters that are in a slashing based nature. I'm not going to say that he's perfect, because even with all of the upgrades, this is essentially still a free unit, and especially with this one, given that you get one of him just for doing logins now, he's basically has ascended to the point of essentially being a welfare unit. And to that point, like, there's a ton of upgrades here. There's a lot here to make him way more desirable. And, you know, a good option for free-to-players. If you think about him and Pain recently, that's just a super free-to-play combo that's really good. The Pains are used in even the highest tier guilds right now. That goes to show that there is possibilities for free-to-players have fun and a generally cheaper end of the year. But this character's upgrades, I mean, there was no interest in making a limit burst for him because this will probably be the last chance for that. If they were going to give him a limit burst, this essentially would have been the time given all the other upgrades. That's not super great. That is a little discouraging, but I am fairly happy with this because, I mean, if you just look at Thancred on his own, as a long-term player, he's just essentially kind of something there to upgrade and have fun with, and that's great. Looking at equipment too, his Lionheart replica, I believe it is, 15 slash attack. We're also looking at light attack up by 30, slash attack resistance, penetration, and AoE. Really solid piece of equipment for him. And the glove also has been improved. We have magic attack resist and single target resistance, and then we get into the benefits, which also are for Ishtola as well. Here, initial AP up by 20. We're looking at damage bonuses. I just want to pull this up so I'm not getting anything wrong. Debuff effect weakening right here as well. And the equipment does have overall better stats than what it used to. Sorry. Reduce physical damage taken of 8%. That's the one I was missing on there because I don't see that string as often. Lionheart replica also at 202 attack, which bit of a stretch for trying to get that as a roll on leveling up this piece of equipment, but still pretty good. So let's go in and test it. I think we've basically looked at everything, and we'll just try this. Now, I'm not expecting anything to shoot the moon here, but early days. We'll see if there are some absolutely awesome builds, especially with Yuna in the future. As per usual, starting off with all of our buffs. And while we're here, while we're just waiting, shoutouts, of course, to FF14 and its absolute killer soundtrack, which I think is just tippity top-notch as per usual. Now we have all of these. Been a while since I've even looked at these abilities. Start off with this one. Give him that HP heal. And you can see his speed still not super great. I feel like they probably could have done a 15% speed buff and it wouldn't have been that unreasonable. Maybe I'm just being a little too generous because we're starting to get into that holiday season. But yeah, I'm gonna stick with it. I think that's true. All right, so DPS test really quickly, since he is still primarily a DPS. Yeah, barriers going to be a problem for him. There's nothing in his kit, in the main part of his kit, that can get through a barrier. So having a barrier breaker with this character will be pretty important. But if we're looking at some of the damage that's being done here against June, 4,000 is pretty decent. Here, maybe a little bit more of an accuracy issue when we're dealing with Sephiroth, showing off that even a mid-tier evasion style character still pretty good. We just fire a few other attacks. Generally okay, not super amazing. Looked at this with Ashenmont. Yeah, it's alright. It's alright. Not necessarily the shorter one, but Blasting Zone. Again, going through it, but DPS has definitely been improved here. And now let's cast our other ability, the other really important one, give him that berry, and we'll start testing other characters, smacking him around. And first off, Spring Joom, no spring chicken when it comes to dishing out damage. But actually, very initially strong start of only 3,000 points of damage from her Limit Burst, which is usually a very strong ability. So we can see against AoEs here, even not necessarily the most amount of AoE resistance on this character, just as a reminder, only had about 13 initially on him. We can see that those hard baked in abilities are doing quite nice. Would say that Joom's DPS is fairly muted, not amazingly muted. Now coming in here and checking off Sephiroth, I mean, again, very powerful Limit Burst. Sephiroth is capable of dishing out damage. See that that's being quite good. He is taking, fairly reasonable amounts. Moving close, try and get a single target on him. Also, pretty damage reduction. I think maybe one thing I didn't touch on was status effect resistance, which if I can click on the right things, that would be great. Here, no curse resistance, so that is a bit concerning. You probably want some Trust Mastery runes on him to push up that curse resistance. Not that Sephiroth is as much of a problem as he used to be. He has definitely declined in terms of his meta share. But, I mean, if you are trying to stay competitive, and if you are going up against any Sephiroths, probably will want that. And then Ashenmont, kind of our single target damage dealer, even against his Limit Burst, only 3,000 points of damage. Quite impressive in terms of his damage reduction abilities. Even if we just fire it off right now, even with that follow-up hit, just 2 follow-up hits, we have really not taken that much damage. Throwing a magic attack against him, Gilgamesh's Limit Burst, again, considered to be really quite powerful, and we're looking at about 2,213, much lower damage than what we've seen, and even his AoEs, 3,800, we hit that, take off a bunch, and get about a 5,000 HP heal. So yeah, I would say this, Thancred is solid for a character that still doesn't have a Limit Burst. I think that with all of these upgrades, he's pretty good. He has some move to a unit panel abilities, he punishes some evasion-based characters, and he's fairly damage resilient, all things considered. I'm not going to say that he's, in terms of team building, the most friendly character that we've ever seen. Because I think in terms of a DPS, right, we've proven that, a lot of the defensive capabilities that are out there would probably still give him a little bit of trouble. But he has been pushed in a general way of, not only more DPS, but also more defensive capabilities, more survivability, which, again, with a character like Yuna, that might be interesting. That might be just good enough to get there. I'm going to be on the positive side for this one. Is it as impressive as Agrius or Orlandu? Not upon first viewing and not from anything that I've heard yet. But with more reincarnations, with appropriate builds of correct Trust Mastery runes, I think that this character can go a lot farther than most people are expecting him. And yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing him in some PvP stuff. I think he actually could potentially get there, although I'm not entirely convinced that I can recognize the team, whether it's Cloud and Yuna potentially as more of a protection. Replacing that healer still seems like a little bit dicey potentially. And yeah, the Dragoon and Red Mage part of his kit, maybe still some of the more unexciting stuff for me. But yeah, that's it, I guess, for this video. Let me know what you think in the comments below of our favorite and only Gunbreaker guy, a guy who's been around essentially since day one and is still kicking. /. Yeah. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, and see you later.